are back on the road to glory. Week 5 officially in the books. And what a week it was, man. Just for the week in our prediction show, this is highlighted that this was definitely a week we were excited about. A lot of good matchups, man. And it absolutely delivered from Friday all the way through Saturday night. We had fantastic college football games, and we are going to talk about them all. But before we do, again, I am your host, Sean. I'm joined as usual by Stefan. Steph, big weekend, big win for your Ducks. How you feeling? What are the vibes?
Man, the vibes are amazing, man. I mean, not only because it was just a banger of a week in college football, but when your team goes into the hornet's nest and comes out alive, that's something special right there. So I know we're gonna get into it, but yeah, man, the vibes is going crazy right now. Just a crazy week. A lot of amazing football that was played, and to end the week like that, yeah, I'd say that went just about perfect.
For sure. And even on my end, man, fortunately for my Florida Gators, you cannot lose to the bye week. So good weekend on my end. Would have been better if we got Pete Thamel to tweet out some good news, but um, none of that quite yet for the Gators. Let's get into it, man. Let's get into these games. Let's talk about some of these scores and highlight some of these I guess important outcomes. Before we do that, remind you again, if you aren't already, making sure to follow us on Instagram at the Pigskin Live, whatever platform you listen to this, whether that be Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Just click the subscribe button, leave that 5-star rating, like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the vibe at this point. Just helps us, and we appreciate it. So let's get into it. Like I mentioned, we even had some good action on Friday. Um, Started off um, with two ranked teams taking battle and both falling. Florida State and TCU both going down Friday night. Houston knocking off Oregon State in another close overtime game, 27-24. But let's talk a little bit about these other two games. Obviously, the one that got everybody excited, Florida State falls to Virginia. A game that I don't think many of us really had on our radar to really um, turn out to be an upset, but Virginia, they played a hell of a game, especially on the offense side of the ball. Um, I thought their offensive coordinator schemed up exactly what Virginia needed to do to win this game. They were actually super physical, so kudos to Virginia. They were missing like literally five offensive linemen, a couple running backs, a couple. I think they had like at least 11 people on their injury report, like half a side of a ball of players injured, and they still, man, played a great game. Just over 50% on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth down, control the time of possession, only four penalties for 25 yards total. They did turn the ball over a few times, but their defense, got out on Florida State early and forced three turnovers. I think in the first quarter, they forced three turnovers, and were able to get out to that 14-0 lead. Just an overall impressive, crazy victory about Virginia or for Virginia. What were your thoughts on this game, Steph? This was a big one.
Man, the whole time I was just thinking, generally you would think that Florida State would be so much more talented than a team like Virginia, but Virginia had guys that were just as good, if not better, than Florida State. I mean, like yeah, it came down to what was it overtime at the end, um, and it honestly just looked like two sort of even teams, and to me that's just a pretty crazy thing that can happen. Like I've sort of been aware of Virginia, um, and they do some pretty interesting stuff on offense, but they just never really had any good players to really win a good amount of games, right? So I never really watched them because they would always be having like 3-9 type seasons. But I don't know this year, especially with the way the ACC is looking. Virginia might be that surprise team that ends up having like an 8-win season or something like that, and can look back and really be proud of because I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic hate watch. Something that I did not expect I'd be able to say at the beginning of this game. I just I'm not gonna say as although I'm surprised that Florida State lost this game. I'm not surprised that this is who Florida State is. I mean, if you guys
Well,
go
yeah, I'm
back to
not
that
surprised that
first,
they lost one for sure.
yeah, like we talked about this at the beginning of the year, and I called them out, and I
Oh,
said I
yep,
think Florida
yep.
State has fake diamonds. I mean, go back to our first episode of the season, and I was just it was a good win over Alabama at the time, and obviously Alabama. We'll talk about them and that big win over Georgia. So that win looks a little bit better than it did, but I thought that game kind of just was a product of the environment, a product of the situation. And if you had simulated that same game in the same building, the same two teams 10 times, how many of the outcomes look like they did this year? Probably not many,
Right,
right?
right, right, right.
Um, and so to
And they
see Florida State,
completed 9 passes and won.
yeah, literally. So just a bit of a disappointing performance. Now, I think Florida State should still, be able to play the rest of their schedule strong. I don't think they're going to crumble because of this loss at all. Like again, I think Virginia played up to Florida State. I don't necessarily think Florida State played like super down to Virginia. Again,
I just
they
don't
did turn
think
up.
Florida State was even really much better.
Yeah, no, they weren't. They weren't. Um,
And I think also too, like I said, how they only completed 9 passes against Alabama. They threw the ball 14 times. So when you have teams that are able to key on that and really just sell out to stop the run, you have a quarterback like that really just can't throw the ball well at all.
right.
I mean, he's not tall at all. He's probably 5'9", wearing Timberland boots. He doesn't hit open receivers all the time. Like there was one play, a receivers run across the middle of the field and he just sails it over his head, clean pocket and everything. I'm like, yo, this is a senior quarterback, mind you. You know, so yeah, we know he's athletic, he's fast, they can run, but if it's an offense that can be very one dimensional, and I think they need to figure out how to have more balance. They need a quarterback that's a better passer to really make something happen. Because when you look at what Virginia was doing, they were balanced. Like yeah, their quarterback turned it over a few times, but he was still able to complete a good amount of passes downfield, and they were able to run the ball with running backs too. I mean, their quarterback had some good runs. He ended up rushing for like 3 touchdowns, but those were scrambles. They were still having good runs with running backs. So I think you just saw one team that had a balanced attack, and then another team that didn't. And then when it got close at the end, Virginia was able to make the plays that Florida State didn't. And you're seeing that. And this is going to be a common theme for not only this weekend, but whenever we talk about games that are close. At some point, you're going to need a quarterback that can complete passes. I'm not saying that has to be the focal point of your offense, but at some point, you're going to have to complete a pass for that crucial first down or to score that touchdown that you need to win a game. And Florida State was just not able to do that.
Yeah, and it's not that surprising. It's. I think they have some weapons on the outside. To be honest, like Deuce Robinson, Squirrel White, those guys. I think they got some players. But you're right. Tommy Castellanos, he's just not somebody that you can consistently or expect to consistently produce throughout an entire season. I mean, we saw the same thing at Boston College. He had some games, he had some gimmicky games where he would come through and he would look pretty good, and Boston College would play a team close or maybe pull off the upset, but. Even Boston College, they saw through that. They decided that he wasn't the guy to lead them in the right direction, and obviously change the situation. Different teams could be a good situation for him, but no, I think he is just who he is at this point. Um, and Florida State is going to have to figure out how to win, despite him. I'm not always with him. I'm not saying that he's just going to go out there and lose them a whole bunch of games, but I don't know how much they can count on him, especially in a game like next week where you're playing Miami. So
Yeah,
I don't think this was a case of them looking past Virginia. Do you? Maybe it was.
maybe. I mean, cause Virginia came out there. That environment was lit. The whole time I was watching, I'm like, man, I wish I was there because they had a packed out stadium. And if you don't know, on one of their sides of the stadium, there's no seats. It's just a hill where they allow people to sit down on there, and
Yep.
it was full. I never seen the hill that full in my entire life, and them people sold out for this game, and I think they were able to feed off of that, and um, they really had a great time in there because when they won that game and that pass was intercepted at the end and they
hmm
stormed that field, that was crazy.
That was one of the craziest storm fields or field
Yo,
storms
I'm
I've
like,
ever
yo,
seen
they
in my
was
life.
trampling their own player. Like
Yeah. And again,
them people were
I
so
want to
excited.
take a second to talk about that because I get the concerns, and people that have listened to the show know I am a well documented hater of the field storms. I don't enjoy it, but I think that was well
That's because your team
worth.
never got the chance to storm a field.
No, we've had plenty of opportunities. We just don't do it.
When?
I told you, we just Florida Gators don't storm the field. We're
Why
the Florida
not?
Gators. I told you,
The
look it up.
Florida Gators who haven't won anything in 20 years.
Regardless of the
Y'all could
whole
use a
point,
field storm and maybe that would give y'all some
no,
excitement.
no, we're gonna talk about another game that had a field storm
Yo,
that I thought was absolutely stupidest, most corniest, lamest thing of all time. Just stop storming fields for any random top 25 win. Like you don't get to just
I'll agree with you there
storm the
because I
field
know what
because you
game you're
win a
talking about.
game.
I'll agree with you there because I know what game you're talking about. But you got to understand too, a lot of these programs they don't get
I don't give a
they're not
damn.
gonna get the they're not gonna get the opportunity.
I don't give a damn.
Like yo, y'all see the way it's going for y'all gonna storm the field after beating a G5 team at this point. So you need to cut some
Nah,
people some
man.
slack.
Nah, hell nah. You get to storm the field if you're a gutter program and you beat Alabama or something like that, or you beat a top 10 team. If you're
So
Virginia and you knock off Florida State, who's top 10 in the country, yeah, yo, you better get your ass on that field. Hell yeah, celebrate that. But if you're Illinois and you beat mid ass USC, what are we doing, guys? Like, what are we
so
doing?
so if y'all would have beat South Florida, y'all wouldn't have stormed the field.
No, 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 no. We would not have stormed the field, bruh. We would not have stormed the field. We don't that shit is just so corny. It's like you never
Y'all
been.
would,
It's like it's for broke people. It's for poverty programs. Like it's for people that have never been there before. So I get
yo,
your
first
point.
of
I get
all,
your point.
anybody
Illinois.
who's a student at Florida right now has never been there before.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But again, it's just a different standard. I get it. You're right. Illinois, they've never seen. That's the greatest moment of their program's history. So
It
maybe,
probably is.
maybe they should storm the field, but great field storming by UVA. That my whole point being fantastic. The whole middle finger to Tommy Castellanos, I loved it. I loved it. Seeing Florida State get dunked on in the season that Florida is horrible. I hope they dunk on Miami next week now, and we all sit in misery together. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Let's keep it moving because there was another great game Friday night on Fox, 9 p.m. It was TCU against Arizona State, a big matchup in the Big 12. And man, another game, Arizona State finds a way to win. Down 17 points at one point. TCU jumps out to an early lead. And Arizona State, man, they just keep clawing their way. They just keep fighting their way back into this game. And unlike the game against Mississippi State, they're able to close this game out and come away with the victory. TCU, on the other hand, just did everything to kind of lose that game and give that game away, man. They had
Yeah.
multiple opportunities. They had the game and just offensive line just not blocking anybody, giving up 6 sacks. Uh, Josh Hoover threw 2 picks. They had another fumble that they lost. Just they ran for 24 carries, 12 yards. I think it was like 35 yards if you don't count the sack yardage. So just not a good day for TCU. Just a lot of shooting themselves in the foot and not helping themselves out. And Arizona State just kind of taking advantage of every opportunity. So you got to applaud Arizona State for taking those advantage of TCU kind of hurting themselves. But on the same token, I'm worried about Arizona State, man. You can't continue to win every game like this. I mean, maybe you can. Maybe you're just the cardiac kids, the comeback kids, but it just doesn't feel sustainable having to make two, three possession comebacks every single game. I mean, sure, you're playing in the Big 12. That's a wild brand of football. But again, when you get to the playoffs, um, you're gonna have to play a lot cleaner than that. And going down two possessions against a Big Ten team, going down two possessions against the SEC team in the playoffs or
They
any
not
playoff
going
team.
to the playoffs.
Um, yeah, well, you get my point. It's not looking good. So, so Arizona State, they still got a lot of work to do. I think this was a great win for them for sure. Because TCU, again, I don't think they're a bad team. I think TCU was maybe, or they weren't the better team, but they had chances to be the better team in this game, and still Arizona State, man, they got that win. But talk to me. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I think it was a good win for Arizona State. They kind of had that rough one against Mississippi State, and being able to come back and get a Big 12 win is a big deal for them. I think they still have a chance to have a really good season and maybe even make the Big 12 title game. But wins over Baylor and now TCU, that's they're 2-0 in conference, and they go against Utah, who we know they're flawed. We kind of had to, well, I kind of had to pump the brakes on Utah, so I'm not gonna write them off. And Utah, it is at Utah, and Utah, they're one of those places that prize themselves on having a crazy home environment, but they've lost a good amount of games at their home stadium, this year and last year. So I don't know. I'm not really worried about that as much, and um, you know, I think Arizona State got a chance, especially if their quarterback is playing better, which he looked like he was against TCU. And Jordan Tyson is a dog, man.
He's a freak. He's going to the NFL. He's going to the league.
Yeah,
All right, let's kick it over to Saturday then and get into the main slate. We start off with the number one team in the country, Ohio State. They travel to take on Washington. And I don't know, I think this game kind of played out how I expected it to play out, man. Washington was able to keep the first half pretty close, limit Ohio State on offense, and just keep them really out of flow. Julian saying, he wasn't really able to um, kind of get into that flow early on into the game. The run game wasn't doing much to take that off of his plate, and Ohio State's offense was kind of stumped. They got that play out of Jeremiah Smith to kind of get the scoring started, but same for Washington. To be honest, that's kind of what we expected. We thought maybe Washington would be able to keep it close, but that eventually Ohio State's talent was going to win out. And yeah, I don't really feel like Washington ever truly had a chance, especially in the second half. Ohio State kind of started to walk them down. Um, just not able to take advantage of any of the red zone opportunities. They kick two field goals. If they score two touchdowns, it's a 14-14 game. They're at home. The crowd's into it. Ohio State feels immense game pressure now. And who really knows what happens, but just not really capitalizing on those red zone trips, especially when you know they're going to be limited in a game like this. Um, yeah. Um, Not super
I
impressed by
told you they
Ohio
was gonna
State.
cover.
Yeah, but again, I knew that I picked them to cover as well. I just you said they were going to win by 30 points, and I said there's no way they're
Well,
going
I
to win by
said
30 points.
I said at the very least they'll win by 17, and what did they win by?
Yeah. So, and I agreed with that, but um Washington never really in it in the second half, just pretty dominant win by Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean Ohio State, and when I was watching, I was just thinking they're playing in from the beginning. They played that game like they was up 20. Like they really just didn't try to take any risk. It was so conservative. It was so conservative. Um, like I said, it looked like they were playing like they were up 20, but the score was 0-0. So to me, that just shows how much better of a team Ohio State is. Washington, they still got a lot of work to do. I don't, a lot of people were trying to say, Washington might have an upset or it's on the road or wherever. I mean, yeah, like we've seen what happens to these teams traveling across the country, but it's not like they're like Ohio State's going from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. They are going two time zones over, but not three. So, it's a little bit less than like a Rutgers going out there or something. But Ohio State they did what they needed to do, and they're the number one team for a reason.
Moving along to one of the biggest matchups that took place Saturday night, Happy Valley, the whiteout. Steph, your Ducks went in there and quieted the storm. They get a victory in double overtime, 30-24. Talk to me, walk me through this. How you feeling?
Man, the better team won. That's really all it is. And like I said before, to win games and big games, you're going to need a quarterback that can complete passes in crunch time. And I'll just start there. For as far as Oregon, Dante Moore, that dude is ice cold. Yo, just no matter what happens during the game, because obviously not every play is going to go your way. Sometimes you're going to have a bad play. Sometimes something is going to happen that's out of your control. And just regardless of what was going on, you just look at him and he's very leveled. He's very leveled. He's very cool, calm, and collect. Even after scoring a touchdown, throwing a touchdown, or getting a first down, you don't really see him really change much. He's just staying, on the process, on, worrying about the next play, trying to do all the right things. Because before we've seen that he can make every throw, but we haven't really seen him throw the ball under pressure. And he was pressured. I think our offensive line played really well. But again, they have good players on their team. They have good edge rushers. Like 33, that guy is really good. And there was times where they beat our tackles, but Dante Moore was able to evade the rush, and we did not get sacked the whole game. There was one play where a guy basically had a free shot at him, and he just dips his shoulder under him, and then throws the ball downfield while on the move, and that was for for one of the touchdowns. I think it was in overtime to Gary Bryant. Yo, it was beautiful. I'm like, yo, this is the type of quarterback play we need. Um, and I think that was the difference between us and Penn State. Like we just have a quarterback that's able to do everything. He can throw to the sideline. He can throw down the field, throw in the middle, throw it short. He's mobile. He can run if you need him to. Like we're not limited at all with this offense, and that's I think what differs between the past few years under Lanning, where you had Dylan Gabriel, who's a gamer. He had a nice deep ball. He could hit the short stuff, but because of his height and his lack of arm strength, he couldn't really hit stuff over the middle or in super tight windows, and he wasn't good as good at like layering the ball between guys and stuff like that. He just doesn't have that NFL arm. And even Bo Nix, like amazing veteran, extremely efficient. Um, but he even, a lot of times didn't throw the ball down the middle of the field as well. Not as bad as Dylan Gabriel. I mean, obviously Bo Nix is an NFL starting quarterback, but Dante Moore is even at another level compared to him. Like he can just hit everything and just his poise. Like I'm so proud of his performance in that game because that was the craziest away environment that we'll probably ever play in. Besides because we've been to Michigan, it wasn't like I know Michigan wasn't as good of a team, but we've been to Michigan. We haven't been to Ohio State with this team yet. Um, so like that was just a crazy environment, and Dante, along with the rest of the team, were not phased by that environment. Um, you know, and again, along with the passing, wide receivers, like you look at our receivers and look at Penn State's wide receivers, our receivers were able to get separation. We got speed. They were able to make plays. Not only Decoria Moore, the true freshman, but Gary Bryant coming in clutch at the end of the game. Come on, man. Like, and then you got Kenyon Sadiq making plays. Jamari Johnson had the one target on that shovel pass, but he was able to make something out of nothing and get in for that touchdown, man. It was crazy. Like I think that was the main difference between us and Penn State because we know about Penn State's running backs. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. But Nick Singleton didn't even do nothing. He had 11 carries for 21 yards. That's nothing, man. 2 yards a carry? Come on now. Less than 1.9, less than 2 yards a carry. Katron Allen, 12 carries, 54 yards, touchdown. I mean, that's a solid day. Averaging 4.5 a carry. Like, you'll take that. But they just were not able to really get the run game going at all. And you know, Oregon was. De'Aaron Hill, true freshman running back, really had a coming out party. 10 carries, 82 yards. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Jordan Davison, the guy that we use in short yardage. I mean, he had 4 carries, 17 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 4.2 yards a carry. Like another true freshman, beast, beast. I mean, like, like that's just the difference. Like we got guys at every area of the field that can make plays, and for Penn State, especially on offense, they just don't have that. I mean, they got some okay wide receivers, but besides the two plays by Ross, one of them wasn't even really a pass. It was a jet sweep, touch pass or whatever you want to call that play, the fly sweep, and that was a great schemed up play. And then you had the deep ball, but other than that, I mean, Trevor Pena, 2 catches, 16 yards. Um, call it? Hudson didn't even have a catch. So y'all trying to hype these guys up, and they didn't even do a goddamn thing.
Hudson didn't score.
No, Hudson didn't even have a catch.
Who's
Both
who
their
scored that?
touchdowns,
Who scored that deep crosser towards the end of the game?
that was Ross.
Ross. That's what it was
Ross had both touchdowns. He scored on the sweep, and then he
on
scored
the
that deep
deep.
ball.
Okay, got you.
But other than that, they couldn't really do anything. And Drew Aller, can we just stop talking about this man like he's some NFL talent? Because I'm tired of it. He don't do a goddamn thing to elevate this team. Like just look at the plays that Dante Moore was making when we needed it. Whether it's scrambling for that first down, like I said, dipping his shoulder under that edge rusher and completing the pass. Um, whether it's you know finding the open man, diagnosing the blitz, like it's just night and day. And you have in mind this is his first year. Well, he started about half the year at UCLA 2 years ago, but he has way less starts than Drew Aller. Drew Aller is a fourth year player. He's been starting for 3 years and he's never really progressed. Like we're still talking about him as if he's a redshirt freshman, and like we're waiting for this, you know, development that's never going to happen. I think at this point he is what he is. That's it. And And I'll say this, like our defense played our A game this that game. Brandon Finney, Iffy Obadegu did not even notice them. You know why? Because they was locking down. I don't even know if they allowed a catch. Honestly, I don't even think our corners allowed a catch. Maybe they allowed one, but when you look at all the passes that was caught, it was either on a linebacker or a safety. Brandon, like yo, true freshman Brandon Finney. Come on, man. That's how you know a DB is playing well when you don't even notice them. Because they not even trying to attack them. They not even trying. They don't even got the guts to throw at them. They don't even got the guts to throw at him. Come on now.
13
And
completions total for Drew Aller in that game.
come on now. That's not gonna do it. That's not gonna do it. Um, 56% completion rate, 137 yards. Come on now. This is your NFL quarterback. No, it's not gonna work. And you can just tell by the way they call the game. The plays that they call, you can tell they don't trust him to make a play. They don't trust him. It's always a screen. Like how many of those completions were like screens? Like we said, the fly sweep that counts as a pass. Like none of these were real passes. Less than 10 of them were actual passes to wide receivers that ran routes, not a screen, not a shovel pass, none of that. Versus Dante Moore, 29 for 39, 74.4 completion rate, 3 touchdowns. He did have the pick on the 2 point, which that doesn't count towards the stats, but I'm gonna acknowledge that. I'm gonna acknowledge that. That was a good defensive play by Penn State, dropping that dude into the spot. I'll acknowledge that. But you gotta think. Look at the difference. Our quarterback threw the ball 40 times in this game. How many they quarterback couldn't even complete 20? Come on now. Like you can just tell. And their run game that we've heard so much about. Oh, they got the best running back duo in the country. Shut that down right now. Because we was stuffing it. We was stuffing it. They wasn't able to do anything. Um, you know, Bear Alexander, Amari Washington, amazing performance. Amazing performance. Their O line was they weren't really able to block them. You know, the only thing that had me worried was like towards the end. I think our defense started to get tired, and they were able to just get every short yardage like run that they needed. Like I don't know. Were you watching the game live?
Yeah, it was.
Because it was like I'm just watching. I'm just like, especially all right. So a little bit of game flow. Like the game was what it was like 3-3 at half. Then in the second half, we get up to 17-3, right? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, is the game really over? Probably not. And then that's when Penn State just decides to start like scoring on offense, right? And then once they tied it up and we were going to overtime, I'm gonna be honest, I thought we was gonna lose. I thought we was gonna lose. 'Cause I'm like, this is like an all-time choke job, like we were up and then somehow they complete a deep ball and it's like they now all of a sudden they start trying to use a scheme like from these coordinators that we've heard about, Cole Nicky and all this and that.
He's
Like
overrated. That's my take. He's not that good.
I don't like I'm gonna be honest, I like him. I like him and I'm gonna come back on that. I'm gonna come back on that. But before that, I gotta say, like, when we got into the overtime and then we were able to just score at will pretty much. I mean, the second overtime we scored in one play. So that really was like gave me more confidence to where it was like, all right, well, we're gonna make plays. Like we're not just flopping flat on our face, Like if we would have came out and just got sacked, weren't able to do it, I'd have been like, oh my god, it's over. But we were still scoring. And then when they got the ball in that second overtime, I was like, all right, like we need something to happen. And I was telling myself all game, I'm just waiting for the Drew Aller interception. I thought it was gonna happen in like the second quarter because just of the way the game was going. Like nobody was able to score. I felt like he was gonna force one or something, but again, they weren't calling the game in a way that would put him in that position. Like it seemed like like they had him on a leash. Like they're not really, they don't trust him to do anything. So like it just didn't happen. But when they needed him to throw the ball, like I said, you have to be able to complete passes in crunch time. And Drew Aller was not able to do that as much as Dante Moore. They had the one deep ball, but other than that, no. And then, you saw at the end what happened. Threw an interception. And it was just poetic justice because it was Dylan Thieneman that got beat on that deep post for the touchdown. And then, you keep playing. The game is still going. You keep playing. He put himself in position and made the game winning interception, man. Come on now. But on Kotelnicki, like he schemed those two touchdowns. Those was all scheme. I just don't think that this team has the players. I really don't. I just think this team doesn't have the players. Because when he was at Kansas with Jaden Daniels, they was doing amazing stuff on offense. Like, I don't it's just you have a quarterback that you can't trust. You can't trust him. And I think he's proven that. When you look at the stats, um, and you see that against the top teams versus, you know, the bottom teams, it's a stark contrast. So, like I don't really think it's Kotoniki's fault that you just have a quarterback that you can't trust. It is what it is. And they have wide receivers that were not able to get separation. I think they knew that going in. So they tried to game plan around, not being able to throw the ball that well. But I just think it wasn't good enough for, this type of game. Drew Aller versus AP top six teams as a starter. 0-5 completion percent, 49%, 5.1 yards per attempt, five touchdowns, four interceptions. Like this is who he is. He doesn't play well when his team doesn't have a significant talent advantage. And it's going to happen again when they play Ohio State later in the year. It might happen against Indiana. They might lose to Indiana because this is what happens. You know, um so I don't think I'm not about to sit here and blame Kotelnicki. Like I don't a lot of fans they like to do that because they don't like what's being run, but he has to run what his team can do. And when you have wide receivers that are just not getting open, and you have a quarterback that's getting pressured, we sacked him twice, but we pressured him a lot. And the pressure forced a lot of bad throws. I mean, we're batting passes down at the line. Like our D line played a crazy game. Mateo Uyunglele, he didn't get a sack, but he had some TFLs. He was getting pressured. Tatum Tuyati played the game of his life, bro. That one play where he was out in the open field and sacked Drew Aller, bro. Drew Allen tried to run around him. It did not work at all, bro. I thought he was gonna run around him so easily because I'm like, oh, it's a DN. He's gonna be able to just run around him. No, I was so surprised by that. I'm like, no way, Drew Aller is that unathletic to where he can't even run around a defensive end. Or maybe Tatum is just super athletic. Could be, that could also be true. So that play to me was like, yo, like we're getting this type of play out of Tuyati. Like, yeah, this team is different, bro. This team is different. That's just what it is, man. So I don't know. What do you think? Because I know you were about to say that Kotelnicki is overrated.
Oh, I want to hear at this point. I want to talk about the James Franklin conundrum because that's something that we both talked about, and I mean, we both picked Oregon, and my main reasoning is, I mean, again, you just can't trust that guy in any of these game situations, and this just is another one of those games. Do they fire it? Like, what do you do here? I mean, obviously, like Penn State is consistently in the top five, top 10, and competing. Last year, they made it. They went on a run, but again, when every year when they need it the most, they're always going to take that one, two losses in the regular season, and then like, so what do you do with James Franklin? Because it seems like, I mean, he's had Tom Allen at defensive coordinator, he's had Manny Diaz, they brought in Jim Knowles, they brought over Andy Kotelnicki at offensive line, so
Yeah,
it's not like he has all the different coordinators he needed. He has
yeah,
all these top recruits. There's no other top schools outside of. I mean, they recruit against like Pitt and Rutgers, I guess, are the top schools in their area. Um, so it's they have all the top recruits. Like I don't know what you do here.
man. I don't think you fire him, but and that's because I think Penn State has never been better, at least in our lifetime. Penn State has never been better than they are under James Franklin.
Right.
I think this might just be what Penn State is. You're better than most, but compared to Ohio State, Michigan, now Oregon, and then you want to bring in the South schools like Alabama, Georgia, and you know teams like that, you're not better than those teams. You're just not. Um, you know, but I think that James Franklin, I think he's stuck in this mediocre quarterback conundrum. I mean, like when you just go back, like Christian Hackenberg, Trace McSorley, Sean Clifford, all these names, they're all the same guy, right? Like they're all
Yeah.
the same guy. They're hyped. They come in, they start for 3 or 4 years, so it feels like they're there forever. They never do anything important, and then they move on, and then you're back with the same guy again. They need a quarterback that can elevate the team. They need someone who's lights out. Like again, just look at Dante Moore compared to Drew Aller. It's night and day. You have one quarterback that he's facing all the adversity. He has 100,000 people cheering against him, yelling at the top of their lungs, and he's making plays and he's unfazed, man. He's unfazed. And then you have another quarterback who's in his home stadium. This is your house. This is your house. It's a whiteout. Everything is here for you. Everything is here for you, just for you. And he can't get it done, man. He can't get it done. Like honestly, they shouldn't even have been in overtime. Like I feel like that was the biggest mistake Oregon made was not winning in regulation. Like obviously we won. I'm happy. I'll take that any day of the week. But we were up 17-3 in the fourth quarter. But again, I think our defense was getting tired. I mean, I think both defenses were. But it's like, yo, like you had all game to throw a deep ball. They didn't even try. And that's the thing, like Oregon at least tried. You know what I'm saying? Like right in the beginning, there was a pass just to let you know we're gonna do it. They threw a pass right to DeCorian on the first series down the sideline. We didn't complete it, but it's like, yo, you gotta respect it. You gotta respect it. You can't just let the team sell out to stop one thing, man. You make yourself one dimensional, it's gonna handicap you. That's the difference. Handicap versus multiple. We're multiple. We can throw it to the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, run the ball, throw the ball, QB run. That's the difference, man.
All right. Let's keep it moving. Spent a lot of time on one of our home teams, so we will talk about some of these other games now. Another big one. It's just what it was this week. Big game after big game. LSU, they travel to Ole Miss to take on the Rebels. And Lane Kiffin got big win for him as the Rebels take down the Tigers 24-19. I think this game kinda. I mean, if LSU wasn't already exposed before, I think this definitely exposed them. I mean, just Offensive issues have just plagued this team all year, and no matter how much deflecting Brian Kelly wanted to do, those issues were going to come back to bite them. I mean, me and you have been two, not to sound like haters, but two guys that just didn't truly believe um, in us. And again, just another game where, kind of similar to Drew Aller, he doesn't change the game. I mean, mind you, you have the guy like Trinidad Chambliss who's doing everything for his team.
Yep.
So um, results kind of played out how we expected a little bit. I think we both picked Ole Miss in this one. Ole Miss defense definitely played a lot better than I thought they would. So I want to give credit to them. I don't just want to pretend like LSU's defense just did nothing, and I mean LSU's offense just did nothing. And no, Ole Miss I think definitely contributed to the fact that LSU, didn't have great, but LSU just can't run the ball. Their
Yep.
leading rusher 7 carries for 22 yards.
Oh hell
Carried
no.
21 carries for 59 yards for the whole game total. That's just not gonna cut it in the SEC. That's not gonna cut it in these top leagues against these top teams. You just can't win many football games like that. And it was crazy that they even had a chance in this game, to be honest. But yeah, Ole Miss is now 5-0, 3-0 in the SEC. They're looking good, Lane. I think this team is clearly not as talented as the Ole Miss team last year, and here they are in a similar position, a chance to kind of right some of the wrongs that happened and maybe make the playoffs this year. Ole Miss looking good. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, man. LSU, I think, was just super overrated. This is another team that I'm tired of hearing about. Stop telling us about the NFL talent of this quarterback. He's not that. He's not that. Y'all lost to Ole Miss, bro. Come on now. They brought in a quarterback from Ferris State to beat y'all. What are we even talking about? I'm tired of hearing about LSU under Brian Kelly. Get a new coach that's actually going to do something important. They're never going to win the SEC. They're never going to win a national championship. This team is so overrated. And every week that goes by, that Clemson win gets worse and worse. Clemson is an average ACC team this year. Like LSU just ain't that good. They ain't that good. They got one wide receiver that's pretty good. I'm not taking him over nobody on my team. Um, you got a quarterback that's a all right college quarterback. I mean, maybe he has the arm talent. I mean, I think he does have arm talent, but it's like, bro, you have to be able to make plays. You have to be able to hit the throws in the game, be a good decision maker. I don't think he's the best at that. I really don't. And a lot of that might be the result of the team he's around too, as well. Like you got no run game. You don't have the type of receivers they used to have. Like last year, they had way better receivers. You got even going back. Um, like I don't really see what other people see in LSU. Honestly, like Brian Kelly, I'm not. They always try to hype up Brian Kelly too, but he always seems to fall flat on his face in too many games. He's not up there with Kirby Smart. You're not up there. I don't even. I got a question. Since we just talked about it, who would you rather be your coach, Brian Kelly or James Franklin?
Yeah, sheesh.
I might take
Um,
James Franklin because I know I'm gonna beat everybody I'm supposed to beat.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I'm not happy either way, but
LSU is supposed to be Ole Miss though. LSU is supposed to be Ole Miss. This is LSU we
I don't
talking
know if
about.
they were supposed to be Ole Miss. I mean, we both picked Ole Miss to win.
That is true, but I'm just saying in general. Like
LSU
you
is a
have
higher level program than Ole Miss. Yes,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're LSU. You're not supposed to be losing to Ole
yes,
Miss. Like when I think of LSU, I think of a team that plays in a national championship every few years.
yeah.
That's what I think of.
I think outside of maybe week one where we thought Clemson might be good, LSU has not looked the part of a top five, top 10
No,
team all year long. They haven't.
no.
Defense has looked definitely improved, for sure, but the offense side of the ball has been pretty putrid. Um, Yeah, LSU has a lot of soul searching to do, as their slate doesn't get any easier. They still got a tough schedule.
Yo,
So
the SEC, and as we talk about these games, the SEC is so deep. I don't even know if I said it to you or somebody else, but I was telling somebody, I was like, yo, the SEC got like 1085 overall teams.
yeah, no, actually, it's
Like,
crazy.
I don't know if they had that 95 overall team, like Georgia just lost, like Bama lost to Florida State, you know what I'm
Right,
saying? But it's like all these teams could beat each other. If it goes right, even Auburn, like when Auburn, because even Auburn just lost, they could beat somebody they ain't supposed to beat.
right.
Telling you, like
It's
they got
it's open.
so many 85 overall teams, man. There's gonna be a lot of 9-3 at the end of the season. I'm telling you.
I mean, again, I don't think if I asked you to make a prediction who was going to win the SEC today, is it any more clear than it was week one or preseason?
No,
Like, no, your guess is as good as mine.
I thought it was gonna be Georgia. Now it's Bama's the number one team in the SEC, I think.
And let's talk about that game. That is here the next game on the docket: Alabama versus Georgia, and the Crimson Tide going between the hedges and shock the world, knocking off Georgia 24-21. I got to tip my cap to Ty Simpson, man. I think this is a game where the quarterback play,
Yeah,
again, like you kind of mentioned, being the theme of the weekend, the quarterback play kind of was the deciding factor. I don't think Gunnar Stockton was necessarily bad, but he wasn't special. He wasn't plus. He wasn't great. 13 for 20, 130 yards and a touchdown. That's just not going to cut it. That seemed like he played half of a game, to be honest. On the other hand, Ty Simpson just throwing the ball around the yard, 24 for 38, 276 yards and two touchdowns, no turnovers. Alabama had 100 yards on the ground total. Georgia ran for 200 on the ground. Um, but Alabama able to do enough to get the win. I think most of the scoring came in the first half,
yeah, they did.
if I remember correctly. Yeah, so a lot of defense in the second half, but yeah, man, a bit of a shocking performance. I mean, they were showing that stat throughout all the pre-hype that Bama's kind of owned Georgia a little bit over the past decade or so, but obviously a lot of those wins coming when Nick Saban was the coach. But even last year, Bama was able to get that big win over Georgia. So um, I was really expecting Georgia to get that lick back this year, and man, Bama really they showed up. They showed up. They played physical on defense. Although, like I said, they did kind of let Georgia run the ball all over them, which is definitely still an alarm and a red flag to me. Because again, in their one loss this year to Florida State, that was their biggest deficiency was their run defense, just letting Florida State bully them and run all over them. And again, that did kind of happen in this game for Georgia, but they were able to kind of uh, slow Georgia down enough and not let Georgia score every time they, you know, went into good field positioning. I don't.
I think. Go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say I don't really know if I feel any worse about Georgia after this loss necessarily. I don't think it was Gunnar Stockton's best game, and I do think Kirby Smart might have got outcoached a little bit. Um, but I think honestly it was just a great game from Alabama. The defense, especially in the secondary, really stepped up. Georgia's wide receivers have been making plays all year, getting separation and getting open and giving Gunnar Stockton, targets to throw to, and they were kind of strapped in this game. Um, so I don't know. I thought this was a great win from Alabama. I mean, fantastic win, one of the better wins of the year, to be honest.
Yeah, I think probably the most crucial thing about this game was, and I just really like propped up Kirby Smart, but Kirby Smart made a big coaching blunder in this game, man. I think that
Mm-hmm.
cost him the game by not kicking the field goal at the end to tie it up. Like, bro, y'all was not scoring. And I know my coach likes to go for it on allow them fourth down, but like when you're in no man's land, you got to go for it. You should never be punting the ball on the other side of the team's 50, right? But when you get down, into the red zone and you're in a tough game like that, a lot of times you got to take the points, which we did take the points a lot of times. We missed the field goal, but we also made the field goal. Um, so, like in that situation, you tie it up because there was a lot of time left, right? Wasn't there like 10 minutes left at that point?
Yeah, there was
and
the whole fourth quarter basically.
yeah, and then like you're going to get the ball back, right? Your defense is playing well, like you're not letting them score, and they didn't score for the rest of the game, right? So
Well, I
like
think
y'all
Bama
tied
had
that
that one
up.
drive that they went all the way down the field, right? And they wasted like 8 minutes off the clock or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
hear what you're saying. I don't think you're what you're saying is wrong. It was just I definitely agree. I think Kirby Smart got a bit out coached in this game, which I don't think I would have been expecting to say. I think Coach Ken DeBoer is a great coach, and we were very high on him. Coming into taking the Alabama job, but I think he himself has had a couple blunders so far at Alabama. So to see him kind of go toe to toe now 2 years in a row with the cream of the crop in the SEC and in pretty much in the entire country when it comes to coaching is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. That was a big win for not only Alabama but for Alabama staff. Let's keep it in the SEC. Auburn, they travel to Texas A&M and they lose an ugly game, man. Just a defensive domination, offensive struggle, really for both teams. I mean, A&M was able to move the ball, but not really able to finish on a lot of their drives. Auburn just pretty pathetic on offense, 175 yards total in the game, 24 carries for 52 rushing yards. Jackson Arnold, 125 passing yards, 18 completions, 33 attempts, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So a game that really was just kind of the tone was set by A&M's defense. They pretty much didn't allow Auburn really to do much, and their offense just kind of played possession football, made sure that Auburn didn't have many opportunities and many chances. Um, Ran the ball, something that we were kind of questioning A&M about and mentioning like, wow, we thought they were going to be able to run the ball and that Marcel was actually going to not throw the ball as well. But Marcel Reed, he's still throwing the ball well. And now, finally, Le'Veon Moss, big game from him. He rushed for 140 yards and a touchdown. Um, yeah, man, A&M, they're looking good. They are looking really good. Um, Auburn, again, I'm not that high on them. So, get still a good win, but uh, not a pretty game, not a fun game to watch. Not a
Yeah,
lot to talk about
Auburn is
highlight wise.
they it's sad because Auburn has so many good players, but they just can't
Eric
seem
Singleton should have
to.
never left Georgia Tech. I'll say it.
Well, especially the way he's looking right now. He should have came up to Eugene, man. Yo, listen, guys. Any players out there? Stop going to these shitty ass teams. Come to a good team that's gonna showcase your ability. I was just thinking that yesterday. I was like, yo, if we had Eric Singleton, do you know how insane we would be right now? Come on
Yeah,
now.
I think Oregon was spamming Demo a little bit. I think somebody else is gonna have to step up for Oregon. Um,
Yeah, I mean, but whatchamacallit did, like Gary Bryant did have them catches at the end,
he
but
did towards the end of
I
the
mean,
game.
you're
He
right.
definitely had a
Like,
couple of clutch catches. But
but he's the number one guy, right? Like, he's the
yeah, so he
most
should be the
athletically
one.
gifted,
Agree
and
for
the
sure.
most like he's got the chance to make them crazy catches. But
And he
I think
was.
you're right. I mean, Malik Benson, I think he had like a few catches, but not many yards because I think they was really doing a good job. Like, bro, Penn State, they did a good job in that game of just on defense in general.
No, they
But
did. Their defense played good.
you know,
Their defense definitely gave them a chance. Their offense kind of
yeah,
failed them.
like Eric Singleton at Georgia, if he was on Georgia Tech right now, they probably
They'd
wouldn't
be
have been in a dogfight
dangerous.
with Wake. Yeah, they probably wouldn't have been in a dogfight with Wake.
Yeah, we saw that Georgia Tech. We ain't gonna talk about it this week, but we don't think no one saw that. We're side eyeing
Yeah,
you.
I was
Careful now.
watching that.
We were
They got
watching,
bailed out too, but at the end by the refs.
playing ref ball. Let's keep it moving now. Let's talk about another Big Ten matchup. One that we highlighted could be potentially a close game, and not to be fooled by last week's results. And sure enough, Iowa, they took Indiana down to the wire, but Indiana did escape. They did do enough to get the victory 20-15. Iowa just doing what they do, just turning every game into the kind of game that they want to play. Just nasty, mucky defense, low scoring, close contest. And, they had a chance, um, but just not enough, obviously, on offense for Iowa. That's just the theme for this team under Kirk Ferentz. Nothing else changes. Indiana, Fernando Mendoza made the throws when he needed to. Got some help on the ground as well. 35 carries for 153 yards, and survive and advance. That was definitely, I think, an opportunity for Indiana to kind of get caught with the hangover. A big win over Illinois last week. All the country raving about you, and um, now you got a game against an Iowa team who you should win. You should be able to beat, and they got it done. Not prettiest, but a win is a win.
They took a
Uh,
what when they ran backwards for the safety at the end.
yeah, that was. I know people were mad about the spread and all that, and I think Fernando Mendoza at the end of the game, he was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be allowed to say this, but I'm sorry for the people whose spread I cooked, but I just had to do what I had to do. My thing is, you didn't have to take
Yeah,
the safety though. You could have just fell once the clock hit
I
zeros. He could have
yeah, you
fell.
could have just threw a ball anyway, so you don't even
Yeah,
get
yeah,
negative rushing yards. But
yeah. I don't know.
I think that was a little high schooly, but at the same time, I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't like if I'm playing football, I'm never apologizing for not hitting the spread or somebody
right.
hitting the bet.
Yeah, no,
Because you
for
gotta think too, even if you were better, like okay, they didn't hit the spread, but then the other half of the people bet on the other side. So it's like
mm.
you helped other people as well. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really I don't really think people should even be acknowledging that. Like, okay, who gives a crap? We didn't cover. Like, I would just want to win the game, whether it's one
right.
point or 30 points. I just want to win. You know?
And you can always tell which players are on social media and which ones aren't, but
Yeah,
the ones
yeah,
that talk
yeah.
like that. Um, let's keep it moving. Tennessee, man, another crazy game, back to back weeks for them as they narrowly escape the Cowbells, Mississippi State. I mentioned it. I mentioned it in the preview show. I said the spread was pretty close, and Mississippi State has a crazy environment, and they gave Tennessee all that they could handle. This was just an absolute shootout. I mean, just just matching each other, score for score, play for play, moment for moment. A really fun game, a really great game. If you guys didn't check this game out because it just was randomly on SEC Network, I think at like 4:15 or something like that. Go check out the highlights. That was a fun one. Mississippi State, man. I know they're 0-1 in the SEC and now starts the play against the big boy teams, but all is looking good. Year two for Jeff Levy. I gotta tip my cap. We mentioned Georgia Tech narrowly escaping that win against Wake Forest, 30-29 in overtime. Vandy put 55 on Utah State. They are 5-0. Shout out to Vandy. Um, and then USC and Illinois, another top 25 battle, a game that me and you were both kind of, or not both, we both did pick USC. We're a little bit down on Illinois after last week and the kind of performance that they put out on the field against Indiana, but what a bounce back for them in front of their home crowd. Um, Being able to put that game together and get a big win against USC, even though USC did mount a bit of a comeback there in the second half. It did get close, but Illinois was able to secure that victory. Just very physical up front on defense. I know they gave up 32 points, but again, they gave up 15 in the fourth, and that was USC kind of playing desperation ball, trying to get back into the game. For majority of the game, I thought Illinois' defense really controlled that game, and I thought their offense, Luke Altmaier, he bounced back. He had a great performance. 20 for 26, 328 yards and two touchdowns. Um, Overall, fantastic bounce back from Illinois. Um, and that just makes that win for Indiana look even better last week.
Well,
No, go ahead.
in this week, Illinois they got a lot of their secondary back. I think that was a big part of why the score even got to where it got against Indiana was
Right.
like their entire secondary got
Was hurt.
injured, and a lot of them, most of them, except for like one guy, played against USC, and Illinois was really just able to make those crucial plays. Like, I think USC is just a soft program, man. I'm gonna keep saying it because they keep losing these games. It's like we try to hype them, and I'm like, yo, I was even saying, I'm like, yo, USC's defense is going to be good this year. They're gonna be better, well, better, and then they just can't, they just can't seem to get to where USC should be. They're soft. I really think they're just a soft program, and it don't matter who the coach is. It don't matter what players is on there. They're soft, and they play Michigan next. They might lose that. They play Michigan, Notre Dame. They might lose both of those games. They might lose to Nebraska. You still got to respect Iowa. And then they play Oregon second to last. I mean, this season might just be falling off the rails for USC. I mean, we gotta wait and see. But if you look at these games they won, okay, you smacked Missouri State and Georgia Southern. The game against Purdue was more competitive than it should have been. Michigan State, you won by two scores, but you allowed them to score 31 points. Michigan State. And then you allow Illinois to score 34. Come on, man. Like when they're actually playing teams with a pulse, it's getting worse and worse. So we'll see what happens against Michigan.
Notre Dame, they travel to take on Arkansas and clobber them 56-13. That is enough to get Sam Pittman fired. I think that was announced earlier today,
Yeah,
or
it
maybe
was just announced like
yesterday.
before we started recording.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So yeah, he is now out as the Arkansas head man. BYU, they beat Colorado 24-21 in a pretty compelling late night game, to be honest. Caden Salter kind of throwing the game away there at the end, um, but pretty fun one. Rutgers, they travel to Minnesota and just continue to find ways to lose games. Just driving down the field to go ahead and kick the game time field goal and just snaps the ball past your quarterback and takes you out of field goal range and just poor Rutgers. I think I'm over the Shiano era. I think it's time for a change.
I mean, it is what it is at this point, right?
Yeah, Rutgers loses a lot of games like that. It sucks, man. They not gonna say they should be undefeated this year, but 4-1. No, they should be undefeated. I'll say it. They should have beat Iowa and they should have beat Minnesota. And but it is what it is. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. They didn't. Duke, they did beat Syracuse 38-3. They did what they were supposed to do. Syracuse, obviously, Steve Angeli done for the year. Gonna have to figure it out at the quarterback position and on offense. Louisville, they mount a comeback to beat Pittsburgh, pitching a second half shutout. Looked a little slow for them at first. Pitt was looking good, but just another choke job from Pitt, to be honest. What is that? 2 weeks in a row, or two out of their four games now. Games that they were up, or looking like they had a chance to win, and just completely kind of fumbling it there at the end. Cincinnati, 3-1, 1-0 in the Big Ten. Big win over Kansas, 37-34. It looked like for a second Kansas was going to mount a little bit of a comeback there and kind of close out the game, but Cincy, they kept fighting and they were able to get that big W. A team I told you guys in our Big 12 tier list that I thought would have a chance to maybe shock some people this year and make a little bit of noise in the Big 12. They start off 1-0 and they beat a team like Kansas who was looking pretty solid. UCF, I'm never picking betting on. I'm done with UCF. I'm done with UCF. We said it. We thought that UCF was they were underdogs by like 5.5 points. I was kind of scratching my head like, huh? Kansas
Their
State's
quarterback
horrible.
got knocked out of the game.
Yeah,
They might have won that if Jackson played the whole game. He got knocked out pretty early too, and we know Ja'Cory Brown can't really throw.
he definitely can't.
I mean, they were
uh,
able to score some points, in the second half, but yeah, it was just tough. Your quarterback gets knocked out. I'm not about to like come down on them like that.
yeah, I'm over them. Cal, They beat Boston College, another masterclass from JKS, as he leads a fourth quarter comeback. Northwestern, they beat UCLA. UCLA now 0-4. Obviously, don't have a coach right now, but for all you Nico Yama Yamalava, I think I said that right for the first time. Um, for all you haters of him, you guys have been enjoying that out there. Or haters of UCLA in general. What else do we got here? Virginia Tech, they beat NC State 23-21. Um,
Yo, NC State losing to Virginia Tech is so crazy.
that is crazy. That's mad
No
random.
coach, by the way.
Yeah, that's mad. That's crazy. And then yeah, USC they kind of spank Kentucky, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We talked about all the big games, and for all the non-ranked matchups, those are pretty much all the ones of note. Anything that I missed, Steph, or any games that we didn't talk about?
I think you hit everything.
Awesome, awesome. All right, then. Do you have a clown of the week?
I think I do.
All right. Our soundboard is currently down, so I won't be able to play our usual clown of the week music. I do apologize about that to all of our listeners, but segment still remains. It's time for everybody's favorite. It's clown of the week. Steph, take us away. Who's your clown of the week?
Bruh. I think I'm gonna have to give it to the referees this time, man. Like, just referees in general. One thing I want to see from this sport is consistency. I mean, especially when it comes to penalties like targeting, where you eject a player from the game. There was a penalty that was called in the Florida State game where I didn't really think it was targeting. I thought it was a very soft call. But then there was a penalty that they reviewed for targeting, but did not. They ultimately decided it was not targeting in the Oregon game, where you had a guy literally lower his head into Jaden Lamar's head, and it's like, well, that to me, if and I'm on the side of not calling it because I don't want to see people get ejected. But if you're gonna sit here and have this, and then you review it and you see a guy who literally lowers his head into another guy's head, and he wasn't jumping, he wasn't catching the ball, nothing like that. He's running, and you have another player who just runs into the tackle and literally just runs straight into his head with his head and lowers his head. I'm like, how is that not targeting when in another game you call this targeting? And I get it's different conferences, so different referee crews and all that, but it didn't like to me. It just doesn't make sense where you're calling it one way in this game and calling it this way in another game. Um, And that to me, it tells me it's like, well, is what is it about? Is it really about player safety or is it just about optics? Because you had this literal head helmet to helmet play where a guy lowered his head, and then even the commentators were like, oh, it was more like the hairline was hitting him. I'm like, bro, where is the hairline on your head? Where is your hairline on your head? What are we talking about? They're like, oh, it's the hairline. It's not the crown. Yo, where when you if you put a crown on, does it cover your hairline? Yes or no? So I don't understand like what the logic was behind that not being targeted, but the other play being targeted was. So that's all I want to see is some consistency when you're ejecting players from a game. And then more than that, if a guy gets ejected in the second half, he has to sit out the first half of the next game. How stupid is that? It's a dumb rule. We need to get rid of it. The NCAA is a clown for even instituting that rule in the first place. It's the stupidest rule ever. You want to give people a penalty, fine, but you want to eject them from a game. That's a whole different story. And I'm gonna think that's clown behavior every time. People should be ejected for a game for dirty hits, malicious acts. If you spit on somebody, you throw a punch, you do something that's so crazy after the play, fighting, things like that. That's why you eject people. for a collision that's just part of the game, you should not be ejecting people. This is football. You know the risk of playing football before you play the game.
And the part that's mind boggling to me is they allow reviews. So like a lot of these times you review it and then you stand on it. Like if you're going to
Right.
review it, you should be able to review the play, see if it's like you said malicious content or not, and then make your decision based off of that. If it's a bang bang play, and it's a lot of things is watching it in slow motion. Things look way worse in slow motion than they do when it's bang bang, when it's fast. Like I just it's like you mentioned, it's not inconsistent. It's a lot of picking and choosing, and they need to change that rule. I agree. It should definitely be a penalty. Um, even if certain times they're kicking people out the game. I mean, again, I still think that's ridiculous. But if it's really bad or something, this or that. But yeah, getting ejected and then suspended for the first half of the next, like, whoa,
That is so
whoa,
stupid. Bro,
whoa,
you don't if you spit on somebody, you're not even you're not even you don't even have to sit out the first half of the
suspended.
next game.
Yeah, it's true.
That's crazy. I could literally go into a game, start a whole fist fight, and not even have to miss any more time than the game that I just got ejected from. But if you get called for targeting, you gotta sit out the next half of the first game, the first half of the next game. Like it's just stupid. What are we doing? I feel like we're are human beings supposed to be smarter than this? I guess not. There's a lot of dumb people walking around.
All right, then. Any other entries, or is that going to wrap it up there?
I think Brian Kelly should be clown of the week every week.
All right, then. I think we are going to wrap up our show right here. Another great week of college football, just banger after banger after banger. Um, and week 6 should probably provide the same. We will be back later on in the week to make a whole bunch of picks and break down the action for week 6. Until then, you guys enjoy the start to your week, and we'll see y'all when we see y'all.